From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a huge afternoon for July 5th, 2022, as Americans are trying to deal with a shocker of a news story that the U.S. economy may already be in recession. In today's recording, we'll go over the breaking news as the changing, developing details are happening so quickly and so robustly, even before that July 28th announcement that would signal formally we're in recession. That's why you have to get that fourth stimulus check that is in every U.S. state. In today's recording, we're going to go over these incredible checks, and they're huge. You qualify for them, and I found them for you back in the month of March. Nearly $100,000 an individual. Go get them. They were federal stimulus done by executive order from Joseph Biden, and they're in every U.S. state. You're going to get them later in this recording. Go right in this video, become a member, subscribe, and stay in the second half as we go over the incredible checks that are in every U.S. state because they're federal stimulus. They're not state stimulus, and I'm going to show you how to get these incredible sums of money. You're going to learn why it's important to get this money because the economy is slowing very dramatically, very quickly. A recession expected to be coming next year is potentially already underway. And the change of this economy is so abrupt, you need to become a member. Go right in this video and subscribe. Step 2, join the channel, become a member, and get that incredible member newsletter that everyone is talking about Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. And stay the second half of this video as we go over these four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. We got a lot of other breaking news today as well, and the breaking news is robust as the situation is changing by the minute, by the hour. And Wall Street's trying to deal with whether the recession is embedded in the market, whether it's not. And the other issue at hand is the Build Back Better Act. It's back, baby. And in addition to those four stimulus checks in every U.S. state, the Build Back Better Act will give you more checks as well. While the latest details on its negotiations, the economy, where your money is going, and the looming recession that is just days away from being announced, you need to become a member. Go right in this video and hit that join button. Let's get to it. It's America's most loved show of the midday. It's Afternoons, and it starts right now. And good afternoon, everybody. Hope you are wonderful and good. It's July 5th, 2022, and a fourth stimulus check has arrived in every U.S. state. You need to get it. You need to stay with this video, and you need to watch the second half because the Build Back Better Act is not going to give you money in time for the financial cliff that's at issue and the recession, which may already be underway. How do you get this money? Step 1, become a member. Step 2, get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday. And step 3, watch for the second half of this video as we go over these stimulus checks in every U.S. state that amount to $100,000. You qualify. Single individual, $75,000 less. Married couple, $150,000 less. Rent or own on benefits or not. We're going to go over all these incredible checks in the second half. We start today with the shocker of a news story as Wall Street now has embedded in the risk of the markets a recession, which Wall Street wasn't even talking about days ago and now believes it's underway. Whoa, let's recap. Back in the month of February, I was the only American broadcaster recording that we are going into recession. I said a recession would start next year, 2023. It's phase 3 of the 3 phases I've identified in this economy. And then over the next few months, no bank was even admitting a recession. Deutsche Bank was the first bank to announce one. Their analysis was revealed in April. Months went on when J.P. Morgan head Jamie Dimon and other bank heads refused to use the word recession. Even less than 2 weeks ago, Americans heard nothing about the word recession from analysts, and Joseph Biden said a recession is not inevitable. Well, what happened? What happened was the number that came in on Friday, detailed on this channel over the 4th of July weekend. It was the Atlanta Fed GDP Now number. The number is a live tracker, and it tracks what the growth of the U.S. economy is live. not delayed. On July 28th, 2022, in just a few weeks, the Department of Labor will announce whether this U.S. economy posted negative GDP growth for the second quarter of this year. That announcement would likely be yes. Negative growth, well, that would be the second negative growth of second quarter consecutively, and that would qualify for a recession. A recession is defined as 2 negative quarters of growth of the GDP, and the announcement is coming July 28th. But let's look at how quickly this has changed, folks. Last Friday, I said the Atlanta Fed GDP Now live tracker says they are looking at the data for the second quarter that ended last week in June 30th. They say it did post negative growth. They say we're already in recession. What happens this morning? This morning, Wall Street opens trading the first day after the 4th of July weekend, and everything plummets dramatically because now traders now believe that the risk of a recession already underway is embedded in the markets. This is a big one. Imagine we went from no talk of recession just weeks ago to slight talks of recession, then suddenly no belief that recession's imminent in the next few months until next year, then worry about it's coming in July 28th, and now a belief it's here already. Look how quickly the narrative has changed. Again, I was the first American broadcaster to report we're going to recession, and the Atlanta Fed GDP Now, revealed last Friday, was the first indication we may already be in it. Let's look at the reaction right tonight, and this is why you got to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. The stock market, first of all, is pricing in a recession right now, not a recession later on. The Dow Jones fell initially 500 points today, 1.6%, and the S&P fell dramatically 1.2% based upon the belief that the U.S. economy is currently, for July 5th, 2022, in a recession. They're looking at the same data you and I are looking at, which is that negative second quarter of growth of the GDP and analyzed by GDP Now. Stocks fell dramatically. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, the bank stocks are down 3% respectively. Airline stocks were down 4%, and even machinery stocks fell as well. The reasons that analysts now look at that July 28th announcement, which I detailed all 4th of July weekend on this channel, and they say that by July 28th, the announcement will be, we posted a second consecutive quarter of negative GDP growth. We are in a recession now in July of 2022, not in January 2023. The bond yields is also now believing a recession. The bond yields are now exhibiting a two-year inversion curve. An inversion curve has always generally resulted in indication of a recession. That means that the benchmark 10-year Treasury note and the 2-year yield have inverted just minutes ago, just today. And when that inversion happens, that generally means you're going to recession. Oil is falling dramatically, down to less than $100 international Brent crude, the first time on this channel since March. Why? Because they're embedding a risk of a recession where people will not be driving their cars. And then corporate earnings fell dramatically today on belief of a recession as well. Auto shares like Ford fell 5% when they missed dramatically. Now, Zoom Video and DocuSign did rise 5% for the day. Credit Suisse's strategist Joseph Gotham says in a note to clients obtained by LA Today that he expects that the U.S. could avoid a recession, but he doesn't want his clients to believe it's not going to happen. Well, there you go. The jobs data will be released this Friday, and that is the non-farm payroll jobs. There's a big number for Joe Biden. I'm going over this later in the recording, and it's expected to come in 250,000 new non-farm payroll jobs added in the month of month of June, down from 390,000 in the month of May. It's a major drop. Unemployment is expected to hold at a 3.6% rate as well. Finally, when you look at the oil market, they're now embedding a risk of recession. Hold up, wait a second. Oil prices were going higher because of the shortage of oil and the problems of the economies, and we were projecting oil to go to $140 a barrel, international Brent crude. I reported that. I predicted it. So did Goldman Sachs, who repeated their guidance today as well. $140 up for international Brent crude. What came in on the other side of the equation today? Citibank saying, no, it's going to fall to $65. Okay, we'll be going over that more later in this recording. This is why you have to get a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. Folks, if you don't see the warning signals, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. This is not even the financial cliff. Is this the financial cliff? Is this the financial cliff? Is this happening before the recession? Is this happening before the financial cliff? No one in their right mind expected a recession would be announced in the U.S. economy in July of 2022. But let's make it very clear. In February of this year, I was the only U.S. broadcaster recording that we're going into a recession. They would dare not even use the word on camera. It was like a forbidden word. I said we're going into recession. But I said it's January 2023. Banks wouldn't say it. Deutsche Bank held off until April, and even JP Morgan Chase wouldn't even say it. Well, let's look at how quickly this has changed in just days. What's going on? Now Americans hear the word recession as front page news, and now they're being told we are in a recession. Folks, this is not good. This is caused by those interest rates. It's caused by Jay Powell, and that is why you have to get a fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. You have to get that fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state, and how do you do it? You go right in this video and become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. You get that fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state because the U.S. economy is slowing very dramatically, and as it slows, you need this money. Step 1, go right in this video where it says join the channel. Step 2, subscribe to this channel. And step 3, stay to the second half as we go over this big money at issue and what that aspires for you as well. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. It's $100,000. And let's go over the eligibility and let's go over the importance of the money. Later in the recording, we're going to go over each of these checks. So don't worry, we're going to go over each of these checks one at a time, how to get it, how you do it. It's coming up later in this recording. But let me go over broadly the checks at issue. They're executive orders. They're executive orders done by Joseph Biden in the month of March, featured on this channel since the month of March. In fact, it's featured since the day they became law. The president did a series of executive orders in the month of March. It's federal law. It's federal stimulus. It's federal stimulus checks. It's not state stimulus checks. When I use the expression in every U.S. state, it means that you can get it everywhere. It does not mean it's coming from your states. It's not state stimulus checks. It's not state funds. It's not done by a governor. It's not done by your legislature of your state. So if you don't like your state, I don't like Kentucky, I don't like Mississippi, I don't like Nashville. Nashville's not a state. I don't like Florida, I don't like, everyone always says something about they don't like their state. Good, you don't have to move because the money is not coming from your state. It's coming from the federal government. Number 2. The way that you think about stimulus is totally different in 2022. You need to forget 2020 and 2021. This time around, you got to move to groove. You got to learn to earn because it's huge sums of money. It's $100,000 on average. Number 3, broad eligibility. I'm very big on eligibility. I want to make sure you get this money. I'm going to explain to you why in a second. It's so important you get this money. Single individual, $75,000 or less annual income, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less annual income, go get it. If you rent, if you own, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you're on benefits like SSI or SSDI, go get it as well. How do you get it? You become a member. Join under the channel. Number 2, you stay the second half of this video. We're going to go over each of these checks one at a time. Now, let's go over the importance of getting the checks. The importance of getting the checks is what we led with. We're going to go back into the story. The narrative at the moment is that a financial cliff is looming. And the financial cliff is looming. And folks, I can't even project how scary this financial cliff is. You know, when I talked about the financial cliff less than last Thursday before the Atlanta Fed GDP Now number was released, I said the financial cliff is in September. I said it's in September. And I said the recession's in January. Then on Friday, when the Atlanta Fed GDP Now number came out, I said, well, you know what's now going to happen is that we may already be in recession and that the official announcement of the recession will be July 28th. Will that be the financial cliff? Not September. I did not know how Wall Street was going to react to the news when it opened trading today. Today, they are trading everything down dramatically because they believe we are in a recession. So what is my takeaway? To err on caution, which I always do, I'm going to now move the financial cliff up to potentially July 28th. Yeah, I'm moving it out of September. I know, let's pull up that graphic. I told you the financial cliff may be in September. It may still be, but I want to err on caution. Let's look at that graphic together on this channel. I identify a series of periods that this economy is going to go through, and that series of periods starts from now to September, and then I identified that financial cliff of September to January just days ago, and then January next year, the recession. But with that Atlanta Fed GDP now signaling that in phase one, where we are now, is a recession, not phase three, then I have to err on caution and tell you that if the announcement on July 28th is exactly what the Atlanta Fed GDP Now tracker says, a recession's underway, then you have to err on caution and believe July 28th is the financial cliff. What is a financial cliff? It's about as scary as you can believe it's going to be. Financial cliff is basically a change from the norm to something different. Change from the status quo to something different. You're walking along singing your song and then suddenly you fall. And then you don't know why you fell. Well, not you, but everyone else. Americans who think this economy is as wonderful as it was in February, as good as it was in the month of March, are going to be blindsided when they learn just weeks later in July, they're in a recession. What's going to happen is that a series of events are going to unfold, and Americans are going to look for stimulus like they never looked before. I call it a stimulus stampede. They're going to look high and low because they're going to need relief very quickly. Imagine you go from a month of February where everyone had a job and everyone could get 5 or 10 job offers to July when you have layoffs, hiring freezes, and store closures. It's very abrupt, isn't it? It's very abrupt. And now Wall Street has really reverted this economy from a bear market, from a bull market to a bear market to now a bear market with a recession. And that is why Wall Street is down so dramatically today. Here's what you need to know across the board. Let's go over the analysis of the items happening. First, when you look at individual stocks today, they're all taking the hit because the belief is a recession's underway. This is brand new. It wasn't even a story on this channel less than last Friday. Ford is down 3% and now a 52-week low. Analysts believe the sales could rise, but the company's sales only rose 1.8%. Wall Street is looking at 3.3% to 5.1% growth. Energy stocks down dramatically. They used to be the great stocks of the year. As oil's down 8% and international and oil benchmark under 100, stocks like Halliburton and Marathon Oil and even ExxonMobil down 4%. Just really a bloodbath across the board. That's all because they believe a recession's underway. They're preparing themselves accordingly. HP, the computer stock, Hewlett-Packard down 2%. Let's go for the bonds. The bonds, by the middle of today, the 2-year Treasury yield was 2.792%, which is now a yield inversion. There's something afoot in the investor sentiment that is difficult to ignore, given the inversion occurring in the 10-year yields below the 3%, says Ian Lengren, head of U.S. rates at BMO. He basically says it's bad. It's bad and it's looking worse. Yield inversion, where the bonds invert on their rates, signal you're going to recession. I don't know in itself if it's a recession indicator, but there's a battle going on between inflation and growth of the Fed. In my view, the inflation is still overgrown. And what about Jay Powell? Jay Powell recently was asked about the potential of yield inversion, and he says, we're not worried about it right now. Am I? I am, because it means recession. About global markets, the Bank of England said today that the global economic outlook has deteriorated materially. That's significant, folks. That's the Bank of England. And the concerns continue to grow across the board. So what's at issue for you is you need to get these 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. These stimulus checks are averaging about $100,000. There's a series of checks. You need to move to groove. You need to go get them. You absolutely need to get them. When you turn to the factors impacting this economy so much, there is a lot of things out there that don't look good. And among the things that don't look good out there is the narrative coming out of the White House about gasoline. In a series of interviews this week and last week, the President of the United States was asked the questions about gasoline, and his answers were wrong again. They were economically wrong. They were policy wrong. They actually just show a lack of understanding of how gasoline industry and analytics work. And we've been featured on this channel for a while. I've been featured for a very, very long time on this channel. That the president's approach to gasoline and the energy shortage has been incorrect, and yet he repeats stuff that is also incorrect. And Americans are starting to really not believe what he's saying because they understand there's something wrong in what he's saying. Let's go over the narrative right now. When Putin invaded Ukraine, the U.S. and the Western allies, which is Germany, France, England, and similar countries, all agreed to ban Russian oil. You ban Russian oil, oil's not available. If there's less oil available, then gasoline prices go up. We all understand this. Everyone understands this. A high schooler understands that there's less gasoline, gasoline prices go up. That was the result of the White House and the Western allies' decision to ban Russian oil. What do you do when you ban a product? You go get it somewhere else if you have to still use it, right? So the president over the weekend addressed a NATO conference and says the reason gasoline prices remain high is because of Putin, Putin, Putin. Wrong, wrong, wrong. They do not remain high because of Putin. They remain high because the Western allies, Macron, France, Biden, United States, Scholz, Germany, Boris Johnson, England, have consistently failed to go buy the missing oil. If you don't buy the missing oil, there's a shortage of oil, and gasoline prices remain high. What has the White House talked about in the last few weeks, even the last weekend? He said, I released 1 million barrels of strategic reserves to the U.S. economy for 6 months, 2 months ago. And it's been great. No, it hasn't been great. I mean, I've made this recording since the day he announced it. In fact, the day he announced it, I said it's not going to work. There's 3.5 million barrels of missing gasoline per day. If Americans hear that, 3.5 missing, and he's replacing with 1, then obviously you know there's still 2.5 missing. If it's missing, then gasoline price is going to remain high. What did he say over the weekend? My release of strategic reserves has worked. It's not worked. How can you say it's worked? Because you look at the price of gasoline at the gas station, it's still high. It didn't work. It was never going to work. Then the president had the audacity, I'll say it, had the audacity to say, the Americans need a little relief. The American worker needs a little bit of breathing room. And I'm going to do that by proposing a tax holiday on the federal taxes you pay at the gas pump. That's really an insult. It's 18 cents a gallon. A car has a 10-gallon gas pump, a gas tank, or maybe 15 gallons. So let's say it's 10 gallons. He's giving you $1.80 at the gas tank. It's just ridiculous. It's insulting. Again, this is a narrative that Americans are starting not to really believe because they hear it and they say, doesn't make sense. He also said the reason why gasoline is high is because ExxonMobil is a horrible group of people and the U.S. oil manufacturers are gouging you. They're not gouging you, and they don't have 3.5 million barrels of gasoline in the ground. I think most Americans understand we don't have in our ground the amount of gasoline that OPEC Plus and Russia produce. I think most Americans understand that. So what is his policy? His policy has been nothing. His policy has been not to get the missing oil. And he was dispatching Janet Yellen back in October, we knew last year, to address the situation, and there is literally no solution. Now, here is where it gets really strange, and I want to give my pessimistic, or however you want to call it, approach to the situation right now. I've told you that if Joe Biden still does not get the missing oil, gasoline prices are going to remain high, and you're going to recession. Well, today, here's the inversion of it. Because the belief and the markets are that we are now in a recession, the gasoline prices have gone down. That's not a joke. That's actually the analysis. The reason why gasoline prices are slumping dramatically, and that's why the international Brent crude is under $100 a barrel today. I mean, it's a shock. It fell $13 in just days, is because the belief is that we are in a recession. Richenbaus and Associates now attribute the fall of the price of gasoline in the last few days to a tightness in global oil balances increasing by strong likelihood of recession that has begun to curtail oil demand. This is in a note to clients obtained by LALATE News today. The oil market appears to be honing in on some weakening in apparent demand for gasoline and diesel, as they believe that we could be in a recession. Citibank, in a news statement to its investors today, says that they believe gasoline will fall from current levels of, it was $120 a Memorial Day weekend to $65. That's international Brent crude by the end of the year, because in a recessionary scenario with rising unemployment, household and corporate bankruptcies, and commodities would chase a falling cost curve, deflate, and margins turn negative to drive supply and curtailments. Basically, what they're saying is if you lose your jobs, you don't drive your car. Interesting. Goldman Sachs and myself don't agree with Citibank. Goldman Sachs today once again said they believe gasoline is going to go higher to 140. Financial markets are trying to price in a recession. Physical markets are telling you something really different, says Jeffrey Curry, a global head of commodity research at Goldman Sachs. I agree with the Goldman Sachs analysis. I believe the gasoline price is going to be higher. Here's the takeaway for you. It's pretty simple. If you're not in a recession and gasoline prices go high, then you go into recession. If you are in a recession, the gasoline prices go down because you're in a recession. It's like the gasoline brings you into a recession, and then when you're in a recession, they're like, okay, you're in a recession. Now it can go down. It's just not a good scenario, left and right. That's why you have to get these forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. For the first time ever on this channel, in nearly 1 year, I have a substantive update from a member of Congress on what is going to potentially be in the Build Back Better Act. This is breaking news you have never heard on this channel for nearly 1 year. The major announcement came earlier today and over the weekend about what is going to be back in the Build Back Better Act. A July passage is happening. A smaller bill is the issue, but will there be multiple checks? And will there be monthly checks? We'll go over the latest details on the Build Back Better Act in the second half. But here's what you need to know, is that you cannot wait for the Build Back Better Act to pay you checks because you're already potentially in recession. If you're already in potentially in recession, you need to get as much money as you can. And in the second half of this video, we're going to go over the nearly $100,000 of checks that are across the land that are law right now. You become a member. You go right on this video and become a member and get these incredible checks in every U.S. state. Why? Because this economy is slowing very dramatically. We thought this may be a problem in September. It's a problem in July. It's a problem less than 23 days away. You don't wait. You go right in this video and become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Then in the second half of this video, we're going to go over all these incredible checks. Plus, I'll have a preview of tonight's Evenings LA in prime time. We have a huge show tonight with the raising up of your benefits and more about that as well. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as America's most loved show at the midday continues for July 5th. 2022. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. As Afternoons LA continues in just a second with those big checks in every U.S. state. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on a big second half for July 5th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Hope you're having a beautiful day, and boy, is a big news day as expected. Forced stimulus checks have arrived in every U.S. state, and you need to get those checks. And in the second half, we're going to go over each of these checks Did you become a member during the commercial break? I hope you did. Go right on this video and join the channel. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Then get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. And with that, let's go over these incredible forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. They are federal stimulus from the federal government. They're not from your states. The President of the United States in the month of March did a series of executive orders. And as soon as those executive orders were announced, I had the checks for you. Back in the month of March, viewers who are longtime viewers said, LALATE, you taught me well. Always get stimulus when times are good, you told me, and get it quickly and get lots of it. So they said, can you find us a check in the month of March? And I did, a series of checks, $100,000 on average. Then, as longtime viewer Kat says, LA, you do eligibility really well. I do. I'm focused on making sure the most of you qualify for this money. Single individual, $75,000 less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, our annual income, go get it. If you rent, if you own, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you're on benefits, SSI or SSDI, go get it. Remember, this is from the presidency, from the executive branch of the federal government. It's not from your state. It's not paid by your state. It's not coming from your state legislature, from state law, nor from state funds. So when you want to say, my state doesn't really help, yeah, maybe your state doesn't help, but this is federal stimulus. So the third thing is what I do is I put it together in a newsletter. That's the talk of the town. There's no other place in the landscape of financial broadcasting where you get this type of treatment. It's a newsletter delivered to members from me to you Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. As longtime viewer Carol says, hello, you do it all for us. You put it organized in a simple, concise way for us to pounce, and get check. We just got to follow along, and you do all the work for us. I appreciate that, Carol. So let's go over all these incredible checks starting right now. What's important for you to remember is that they're big checks, number one. Number two, you got to pounce, move to groove, learn to earn. And number three, you got to keep on going back and getting checks one after another. And we're going to go over that more in a second. Let's go over each of these checks starting right now. I've given the checks on this channel a number, a lettering system. And I start with check A. Check A, and it's huge. $6,500 to $12,000. Fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. How do you get this wonderful check? Let's look at the graphic starting right now. $6,500 to $12,000 fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, $75,000 or less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. And if you're on benefits like SSI or SSDI, go get it. How do you get it? Go under the video and become a member, where the button under the video says join the channel, and click and become a member. Purple Hawk member, Purple Power, or Casino VIP member. Then get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube member alert system. How do you do this? You go right down to check A in the newsletter. It tells you where to click, the link to go into the nationwide website. Then you choose your state. Then you choose the weatherizing grant, that's this one, and you pounce. Routing times are generally about 1 week out. You're not going to stop there yet because you're going to go pounce on some check B money as well. $15,000 to $80,000, a fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. It's the homeowner's grant. And how do you get this wonderful check? Step one, become a member. Join the channel under the video with the button. Hit it right now. Step two, get the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube member alert. Go down to the membership newsletter to check B, click it, and go right into the nationwide website. Choose your state and get that big sums of money. Look how well we've done. We're only 2 minutes into the section of the video, and we've already seen $100,000. $12,000 here, $80,000 here. We're at $100,000, and we're not stopping because we're going to go get check C. Check C is averaging $45,000. Many viewers have gotten over $150,000, but at least it's a $2,000 a month over 12-month MSC monthly stimulus check. It is for rent, utilities, mortgage, and assistance and more. How do you get this wonderful check? See, step one, become a member. Step two, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and also go down in the membership newsletter where it tells you where to call, what to say, and how to say it. Check C is really one of the most important checks on this channel. Why? Because I've been doing it for a while. I know when checks are important, and this one's going to be very important when the financial cliff hits. Because Americans may be banking on the existence of 2020 stimulus still around, and it's not. If they don't know that, they're going to be shocked. For example, is there an eviction moratorium around anymore? There is not. You could be evicted. You go get Check C for some money for rent. Is there a mortgage forbearance around to prevent a foreclosure on your home? There is not. Go get some Check C. Is there utility assistance around in the federal government so that, is there a program around anymore where the utility companies cannot turn off your utility service if you cannot pay? No, now they can turn off your service. Go get Check C for that utility assistance. Let's look at these numbers across the board because we've been getting these numbers since December 2020. This channel launched on April 25th, 2020, and since then has gotten viewers $50 million. A lot of that money has come from Check C. Do you want $20,000 to $30,000 for rent? Go get Check C. Do you want these numbers for utilities? Upwards of $15,000 for Mark's brother-in-law? Go get Check C. Snap viewers have gotten $25,000 over 10-year Mark's brother-in-law. $25,000 per year over 10 years, $250,000. Mark's brother-in-law. Combinations, very important. A combination of checks like rent and utilities. Niecy's at $23,000. Then she went to $50,000. Mark, he was at $32,000. He went to $166,000. What are they doing? They're listening to the recordings where I say go back and get checks on a regular basis. It's a routine. The routine is you watch the channel on a regular daily basis, hourly basis. You don't miss shows. You watch as many shows as you can to learn where the money newly has arrived. Then you go and get money on a regular basis. $800 this day, $500 that day, and all adds up. Lorraine, she was at $105, and now she's at $150,000. Go get these incredible sums of money. Let's recap what you need to do. Step 1, go right in this video and hit that subscribe button. There's a little subscribe button. Step 2, become a member. Right on the video where it says join the channel. Hit the button and join the channel. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Then get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday and get these big checks. We'll go over the newsletter in just a second. Number 3, there's a little bell on the front of this channel. Hit that bell so it's set to all notifications, so you get all notifications. All right, let's go to that newsletter. It's Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's West Coast time. If you don't live on the West Coast, then learn what your time zone is and adjust it accordingly. It's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. At that time, you'll get an alert from YouTube to members that says new LALATE post. The first line will say LALATE newsletter. Lower in the alert, it will say click here to go into the post. You go into the post, and that is the newsletter. You go down and apply for A and B, and you make the phone call on C. And there you go. Get these big sums of money and continue to get these big sums of money. Meantime, new to YouTube and new to this channel is you can gift membership to your friends and family. You can give the gift of membership to friends and families all across the board. Now, it's important, as you saw earlier in this recording, to get the money right now because a financial cliff is coming or has arrived, a recession's coming or has arrived, and the economy is in big trouble. Already is in big trouble. And the looming economies at scale are changing so dramatically. And that is why you can't wait for this great news, even though it's happening. The Build Back Better Act is back, baby. And for the first time on this channel for over a year, I have a substantive update about what provisions are in the Build Back Better Act 2022 version. They're looking for a July passage, a smaller bill, and there will be multiple checks in there. But will there be monthly checks in there? Let's go over the equation right now. First, let's go over what is this. The Build Back Better Act is the latest massive stimulus package. It first debuted on this channel in spring of 2021. It did not get passed at the time. Initially, it was at $5 billion. Then it was at $3 billion. Then it was passed in the House and then sat in the Senate. In 2021, Joe Manchin said, I don't like this $2 or $3 million price tag. I'll do $1.5 million. What happened in early 2022 is I reported that Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia, and Chuck Schumer, the majority leader, who both like each other a lot, and they've always admitted they like each other because they're very blunt, two very blunt people, said, we're negotiating it as a team, the two of us, and we're going to get done. And yet they didn't give us a lot of updates on what the negotiations were doing. Those updates sort of changed just 3 days ago. Right before the 4th of July weekend, we learned the following events happened. Number 1, a deal between Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer on prescription medication, which apparently was one of the big holdups of the Build Back Better Act. They're done. It's getting in there. Number two, a deal with the four corners. The two leading Democrats of the House and Senate have done a deal for the general provisions of what the Build Back Better Act will have in there. Number three, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer confirming in a public statement that they believe the vote will happen before the August recess, but namely by late July. Number five, and this is where it gets really interesting. Many of the great provisions in there are surviving, and yet one time, and the best time to get an indication of really what's going on, is when the criticism picks up. When you see criticism picking up, it means that the Build Back Better Act is closer to the finish line. Let me say this another way. If the Build Back Better Act was dead, no one else on the other side of the Republicans would be talking about it. But the fact that it's getting very close to the finish line, the Republicans are really talking it up. It started with Mitch McConnell before the 4th of July weekend, but it really heated up in a series of new comments obtained by me from Representative Kevin Brady. Now, let me explain what I'm doing here. What I'm showing you is first giving you a guidance of how close it is to the finish line by using a quote from the parties that criticize the Build Back Better Act. If they're criticizing it, they know it's really close. Representative Brady is a Republican, and he's had some crazy policies featured on this channel for the last 2 years. He's generally out to left field. And what did he say in a series of comments and a series of published press releases in the last 24 to 48 hours? He said the Build Back Better Act is about to happen. He said it's about to happen. He says right by the finish line. He's issuing the press releases as one of the members of the House Ways and Means Committee, and they're one of the committees that is in charge of doing the provisions of the Build Back Better Act. His press release mirrors his interviews on TV today as well. What does he tell us? He tells us that a slimmed down Senate version of the Build Back Better Act is about to happen. And he believes that the provisions, much of which we talked about in 2021, are still in there. What do we know about the substantive? Okay, now remember, I'm going off of a critic. I'm not going off of an author of the Build Back Better Act. So he may be inaccurate, but I'm going off of his criticism of what is in there. The reason why the advocates for the Build Back Better Act are not talking about it, because they want to really keep it quiet and just get it done. The items he's saying, one, are that there will be a July passage. Two, it'll be a smaller bill. And yes, it will have multiple checks in there. But the package will not be the magnitude of the size it was when we last saw it. When we last saw the Build Back Better Act, it was hovering around $2+ trillion. Joe Manchin said I went at $1.5 trillion. According to Kevin Brady, it's tracking currently at $1 trillion to $1.5, so it's even lower than what Joe Manchin reported. Number two, many of the provisions we had talked about being in the Build Back Better Act are still in there. And he actually details them in a statement released, obtained by Allied News. For example, the $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle is still in there. There's actually a check of $6,000, which is called a tax credit, which could amount to a refund check of $6,000 for individuals who are retirees, provided you make less than $500,000 a year. If you make less than $500,000 a year, you can get health care subsidy refund checks of up to nearly $6,000. There is also a lot of other provisions in there, like the credits that I feature on this channel, like the hazard pay, the care for the elderly. Those provisions are reportedly all still in there. What is my takeaway of the analysis as we sit here today? Number one, I believe the Build Back Better Act is going to get done. Number two, I believe it's going to get done at a time frame that is going to be too late for anyone who waits around for it. I believe the financial cliff is hitting right now, or is about to hit. And if you wait around for the Build Back Better Act, you're not going to be able to survive the financial cliff. I believe there will be multiple checks in there, but let me define MSC in a whole new light starting right now. Ultimately, I don't have the statement from Chuck Schumer. I don't have the statement from Joe Biden. I have a statement from critic of the Build Back Better Act. And he's detailing a lot of those multiple checks that you qualify are still in there. So is there an MSC? If the M is multiple, yes. Lots of multiple checks for you. Is there a monthly check for people who do nothing, like the donut guy that sits around and says, give me a monthly check for, 20,000 months? I don't see that happening. If the price tag is 1 trillion, let me pause again. If the price tag of the Build Back Better Act is 1 trillion, and I don't know it is, if it is 1 trillion, you can't do monthly stimulus checks at 1 trillion. We had talked about this back during the Trump administration. Remember when I said there was money left over from SBA and that would be enough to send out a stimulus check? At the time, I said that $3,000 of stimulus checks to every American citizen was at least $500 billion. It's at least $500 billion. So if you're sitting around saying, I want $7,000 of monthly stimulus checks out of a $1 trillion price tag Build Back Better Act, the math doesn't run. It doesn't work. Again, we don't know that it's definitely 1 trillion. It may be 1.5 trillion. It may be 1.75 trillion. I don't know for certain. If it is 1 trillion, you can't pull out of 1 trillion $7,000 of stimulus checks. You can't pull it out. Can you pull out 2,000? It's pretty close. Can you pull out 1,200? Yeah. Can you pull out 600? Yeah. Can you pull out 900? Yeah. 1,000? Yeah. But can you pull out $6,000-$7,000? No. It's really too tight, especially when you know they're spending the money on other subject matters as well. Takeaway is you're going to get money. You're going to get money from this Build Back Better Act, and you're going to get multiple checks. Multiple checks. You're going to qualify for this check. You're going to qualify for that check. You're going to qualify for a lot of different checks. But the potential of getting a monthly reoccurring check for every U.S. citizen that amounts to an ultimate payout of $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 just can't work with a smaller package. What's important to understand is that you could potentially ink out $50,000 to $80,000 of multiple stimulus checks, as we detail on this channel since the earliest days of the Build Back Better Act. There's still room to get that $15,000 to $80,000 of MSC checks in there. There's still room to get the $250 billion of free home health care. There's still room to get the $25,000 for the purchase of the first home. There's still room to get the hazard pay, the earning and credit, the $4,000 of elder care. There's still room to get the dental, vision, and hearing. There's still room for that. It's just the massive paydays for everyone with one program is harder if it's a smaller bill. Takeaway, it's just like third stimulus. It's just like third stimulus. When I said third stimulus is going to become law and I can get you about $15,000, and the average viewer of this channel got $45,000 from third stimulus. Yeah, I will figure out the ways that you get as many of these checks from the fourth stimulus like you did from third stimulus. For the people who don't want to do much of anything and just look at the bank account and look and see a massive payday, we will see how these negotiations go. But a massive payday of $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for every American is not possible when the price tag of the entire bill is potentially 1 trillion. That is why you need to get that fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. The fourth stimulus checks that I have today are not Build Back Better Act. They are executive orders checks done back in the month of March, and they are $100,000. If you see now the importance of getting the checks I have for you today and not waiting for them to run out, not waiting for them to be used up, that's the importance across the board. You get the money today. You get the money today because this is great money. This is shoot sums of money, and there's no $100,000 in the Build Back Better Act for anyone like there is right now. Become a member. Go right in this video right now. Get the incredible membership newsletter and stay with me for 5 o'clock because we're going to have a big show in prime time. It's Evenings LA tonight, and from America's most beloved show at the midday, thank you for joining me. It's Afternoons. I'll see you tonight at 5 o'clock.